Hey friends, welcome back to my crafty space. In today's video, we are unboxing and story planning using the August Colorcast Designs acrylic and wood veneer collection. Now, I started this on a sped up video because my kids were playing at the same time or watching a movie or something, and my husband was out of town. So it just was easier for me to just have this all be sped up instead of waiting until really late at night when they were in bed. So that's why this is a little bit different this time. So I took you through all the different pieces that came in my kit this time. There are some additional wood veneer pieces that are in the subscription kits that just weren't ready in time for us to get them as the design team. So I have the This Is Us title, but just know that there are a couple more wood veneer titles in that subscription kit. So the first thing I did here was pull out all of my planning sheets, and I will quickly realize that I do not have enough of them in some of my typical sizes. So traveler's notebook size, 6x8 size, and 12x12. So I'm gonna go and print off a bunch more before getting into more of the planning stuff here. But right away, I did know that I wanted to use that wood veneer title piece that says "This Is Us" to document my recent book club meeting. Before I started project planning or story planning with this kit, one of the things that I did do was go through some of my recent photos just to get an idea of some of the events or stories or, things that I would want to tell that have recently happened. So I wrote down a small list of those things, and then as I am story planning, I can use that as a reference for stories to tell, or I can let the product spark stories for me instead. So just kind of going from all different angles to figure out what stories I might want to tell this time. So once I had all of those pages printed off, we are back and ready to plan some more. So I set aside the This Is Us title piece in a traveler's notebook planning sheet because I would like to talk about my book club in my traveler's notebook this month. Then I also grabbed the Happy Place Found acrylic title. And for that one, right after doing my story planning, I was going to take my kids on a hike in the woods. So knowing that that is something that was going to happen, I wanted to pay attention to, actually that's wrong. I took a look through all these pieces before we went on the hike, but then I actually came back and did the planning after the hike, because the reason I remember that is because there was one particular photo that I super loved that we took, the three of us, Izzy, Jonah, and I went to the side to make sure that I could print that in a 12x12 size before deciding that the 12x12 layout is the one that I would for sure want to use. So I set aside the Happy Place Found in the 12x12, and we're going to go with that. For the next one, I wanted to document some of the things that Izzy said while we were out on our hike, and I'm going to use the Overheard acrylic piece to help me tell that story. I also wanted to add in some of those acrylic heart pieces. I decide that I like the number 3 for this spread, and then I will add the other 2 in with the Happy Place Found spread as well. For this one, I decided to go with a 2x2 page and a full page photo because I had this section in Izzy's story album that needed a story to go into it. So I had the back side of a 2x2 and then the back side of a full page photo. So that sort of dictated the sizes that I was going to use, but I also really like the configuration once I started sketching this out. It gives me space to have the large photo and the like a subtitle, and then it also allows me a place to put additional photos, and I can then add some of the things that she said, some of her quotes, into the individual 2x2 pockets. So I've got areas for 4 of those, the acrylic hearts, and then more photos. So that's where all of these pieces are now going to go and live. So there we go. Next, we're going to move on to, I believe the captured will be next. Oh, you know what? I sketched out the one for the 6x8 story for Izzy with the overheard, and then decided I should probably go back and sketch out my idea that I'm mulling over for these other pages as well. So I'm going to do a full page photo, create some kind of pocket on top of the photo with transparency, put the Happy Place Found acrylic piece on top of the photo, and then add a journaling card behind there with some story from our actual hike that can come out of the pocket, where then we can, read the journaling inside of there. So that's going to be that one. And then I'm also going to pull over the book club one, and we'll do a quick sketch for that one as well. Yes, here we go. I'm pretty sure I do this. Yes. So for this one, I'm going to use my regular traveler's notebook, probably my Studio Calico one. And on one side, I decided that I wanted to do some kind of photo collage just to break it up and give me space to put more photos in. And then on the right-hand side, I want to use the title piece, but the title piece is only 3 inches wide, which is going to give me either a substantial amount of space on either side of it if I were to put it in the middle, or if I offset it to the right, it would give me a section on the left-hand side, or I guess I could also do the right-hand side, where I could add pattern paper. So that's what I'm going to do, is add a strip of pattern paper, then have the title and my journaling underneath. So I think that that will turn out pretty nicely. Okay, moving on. Next, we're going to do a layout for my son's story album. For this one, I want to talk about going to the zoo with my mom. This is something we were going to be doing the very next day. So I could go into that day knowing, okay, I want to capture some photos of my kids with my mom who was coming with us, and then maybe some of the things that they were saying. So I've got that kind of figured out and set to the side. And actually, now that I think about it, I originally was going to do a hiking story for him too, but ended up having a lot more zoo pictures. So that one's going to be for the zoo. And then this one that says kind of a big deal, I'm going to put inside of our family 6x8 story album. I, again, have a space in that album that I need to fill in. It's the back side of a 2x2 page, and then the back side of it's an outside of the page protector page, but it is 4.875 by 8.25. So it's basically like a 3x8, but outside of the page protector. So that's why it's a little bit different size-wise. So I'm thinking I will use this to talk about just taking the kids on adventures this summer, and how that's kind of a big deal for me, that I really enjoy taking the kids places and doing things with them when they are home. There are a couple days a week where they go to stay with family for the day, and it gives me an opportunity to get some work done at home. And then on the days when they're home, then I can take them to go do fun stuff. So that's going to be a great opportunity to tell that story. Next, I have this acrylic piece that says quoted, and there are quotation marks included here. This one, I'm trying to remember what I'm going to end up making this, because it's going to be this layout for sure, where there's going to be a photo that I will print as a 6x12, so a large photo. I'm going to put the quoted title with the quotation marks up at the top, and then use an Ali Edwards stamp set that is the outline speech bubbles to add in some quotes and stick those, onto the photo itself. For now, I have it set to document the zoo, but I actually changed that up, and I'm going to do something else with it, but I can't remember right at this moment what I decide to do. And then for my last one here, this one I want to add the Simply the Best acrylic title piece with the who, what, when, and where little subtitles. So my idea is to create a 9x12, so this is going to be even bigger, where I've got photos going down one side of the page. I've got the acrylic piece with some pattern paper behind it as my title, and then I will use the who, what, when, where as jumping off points for journaling. And that one, I want to talk about taking the kids to the beach, which I recently did a couple weeks ago. Took the kids with me to the beach, and we had a really great time, and I have some wonderful photos that I can document from our memories there. All right, so now that we've got everything sketched out and a general idea for what I want to do, next I wanted to go through my journaling cards and pattern papers and pull out some of the extra elements that I want to put in with these stories. A lot of times I do this as I'm planning, and this time I just decided to sketch everything first and then pull out the cards and the papers second. So I want to start with this one, this captured story. And I'm looking for some kind of patterned card or journaling card that I can add the title piece to and then put my journaling on there. So I'm going to end up with these two right here as my options. One of them, I could add the captured word in that top box, have that be my title, and then type out my journaling on the lines underneath. I also really like the wildflowers. I think that the color of the word captured looks really great on top of the flowers and then on top of vellum. So the vellum's going to allow you to see the word, whereas if I would have put it on the paper itself, it would blend in too much where it would be much harder to see that title piece. So those are the two I'm going to debate between at a later point in time. And then I threw in some vellum so I could remember that that's what I wanted to do. For this story, I want to find a little bit of pattern paper that I can add underneath the title. This one proves to be a little tricky because it's this bright yellow color which disappears in a lot of different papers. So if I were to use one that's got like a rainbow of colors, the word is hard to see. Or if there is a lot of pattern on the paper, it's hard to see. So none of the cards will work out as I want them to. So I'll put those away and then I'll grab out my actual pattern paper. You'll see I will try it out on a piece of black and white, which is super, super patterned, and it disappears. It's hard to see the word. So as I'm looking through my papers, I decide to go with something a little bit darker. And where there's not as much pattern, like it's still, like this one still has the brush strokes in it. This is the one I'm actually going to end up choosing. So there's still some pattern to the paper, but it is solid enough and dark enough that the yellow pops off of the page, and so you can read the words and see the title more clearly. I will cut this. I actually cut it wrong the first time. The second time, I cut this down to 4 inches wide, and then I will also cut a couple different sections just so I can stick it into an envelope a little bit easier. And then later, I'll decide if I want to use the one that's got the 3 colors on it, or if I want to use one that just has that lighter blue color. But again, that one can be decided at a later point in time. So I'm going to stick that inside of its envelope, and now that one is ready for photos and journaling. Okay, next, we're going to work on this one of my daughter from our hike, The Overheard. For this one, I want to find some pattern paper that I can add behind those acrylic hearts and that I can also use for journaling. So I end up choosing between these two right here. One of them has these stripes on it that are more solid, and the other one is a little bit more distressed. It's one from Vicky Boutin. The one on the left is Vicky Boutin, and the one in the middle right here is a crepe paper. I will end up choosing this one right here with the stripes because 2 of those stripes equal out to be roughly 2 inches wide. It's actually a little bit wider, which gives me a tiny bit more room. But I worry at first that I only have 5, and I really wanted to actually have 6, I believe, or maybe it's 7. I might have needed 6 or 7 of them. And so I'm 1 shy. Later, I will find a little bit more of that pattern paper, so I will end up going with the solid stripe. But because I couldn't find it at that point in time, I threw the Vicky Boutin paper in there as well in case that ended up being what I was going to use. And then again, I'll use some vellum on top of the pattern paper to add my text or my journaling on top. This one I just grabbed over that Allie Edwards quoted stamp set or it's outline speech bubbles, I think is what it's called, so that I could use that later and just remember that's what I wanted to do. For this kind of a big deal, I wanted to find something a little bit more vibrant and summery. And then I found this paper, which I've been hoarding for a long time. Love this paper. This one is, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Shoot, I'll think of it here in a little bit. But anyway, this paper is like yellow on yellow with suns. It's super bright. It's super fun. It's the collection is called A New Day, and I cannot believe that I can't remember who it's by, but I'll make sure to link it if I can. It might not be available because it's a couple years old. So I'll link it if I can in the post down below. So that one, I'm going to do the same thing with vellum and my text, and then alternating it with photos and that sort of thing. So actually, nope, this is second to last. This one is the Happy Place Found. This one's going to be that 12 by 12. I really like the look of the teal topographical map there. I think that it looks really good with the colors on top, but I'm checking through here to see if there's anything else. There's also this card that says Today's Walk, which is kind of perfect since I'm documenting our hike. And I'm going to pull out one other one, this mustardy yellow color one, and I've also got an orange that just says Exploring on it. So these are what I'm debating between for putting as a background inside of the pocket behind my acrylic piece, and then also what I want to use for journaling. So it's just, trying to find something where the title doesn't disappear, where the title doesn't clash, and then an area to add journaling in as well. So I've got this yellow one, which is a little bit too, it's just like a little bit too mustardy. I do like it, but I ultimately decide against it. I think that the white polka dots kind of makes the title disappear. This one is a white card with an orangish colored, really subtle triangle pattern, and I liked that one too, but again, I thought that the title disappeared. This orange one looks really cool, but I also felt like I wanted to use it for more journaling at a later point in time, so I decided against that one. So then I'm just debating between these three, ultimately deciding against the yellow, and then ultimately I will decide on the teal topographical map. And then what I like about this is I can add the Today's Walk card behind the topographical map. I can just adhere those pieces together so that they can go inside of the pocket and be one card essentially. So later on I'll find a tab that I can add in there, and we'll make that work for that layout. So we're going to stick that inside of a pocket, and now that one's good to go. Last but not least, we're going to work on the Traveler's Notebook spread here for my book club. I went in my stash and found a bunch of really colorful papers. I love this one from Vicki Boutin. It's called Abstract. It's got this distressed look to it that I just love while still having a really bold, colorful pattern. And then the other one is, I can't remember what that one's called. I should remember that one, but it's from Chamel. And then that's going to be that. All right, friends, that finishes up my planning process for this Colorcast Designs kit. So out of the August themed kit, I was able to pull out a total of 7 different stories to document. Now, 2 of these stories, it's possible you've already seen them come together and posted over on Instagram for some of my design team work. I will have another video available tomorrow to watch that will be a process video for one of these projects as well. And then the rest of these I'm going to put together, I'm hoping, live with you this Wednesday. Make sure to check back with me on Facebook, or I will also update this post and let you know for sure whether or not that live is going to take place, just because it is moving month, so things are a little bit crazy this month, but I do believe I'm going to make it live. So I will plan on seeing you here Wednesday, and hopefully I will see you guys then. All right, friends, well, until next time, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye, friends.